morning, Bob. It's so nice to have you here. I'd like to introduce you, but I think I'm going to do better to thing, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell your name, your company, and how you got involved in this interesting business.
So Bob Wise, and I'm managing partner for the Lynn Wise Group, and I got involved because Lynn Wise is my wife,
That's
and
a good
she's
reason.
been in real estate for probably 10 to 15 years, but a little off and on because we had a detour where we moved to California for a few years. And I got involved after my last company. We looked at each other and sort of decided, with my operations experience and her desire to want to build a team, and but didn't really want to run a team, that it might be a good opportunity to do that. And she was very interested in mentoring people and working with young agents and bringing agents on, but if you had somebody to help on the back end and manage, the people and the systems and bring on technology and help them in all those areas, it's been a good relationship.
I've read some of the things that you've written to me, and one of the things that stood out to me is before you did this, you did a fair amount of research.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the research you did before you decided that this might be a good idea.
Well, I did a lot of research in the industry, and and things have changed since
Yes, they
some
have.
of that research, that I was doing, and so the industry has gotten a little more difficult to
Yes.
get deals closed. But I did a lot of research also about teams and how teams were viewed in the industry, and was teams a growing way to grow your business in the real estate industry. And so I was seeing a lot of really positive articles about teams and how people were successfully running teams and what they were doing, and felt that the combination of Lynn and I together would be a good mix based on everything that I was starting to look at.
Last 10 years has been an explosion of teams.
Right.
That's what they've had.
Yeah.
I also know that you had operations experience. A team can be, in state law, a team can be any two people who say that they're a team.
Right.
But the successful teams have way more than just two people who say, hey, we're a team.
Right.
Talk a little bit about how your operations experience helps with this idea of creating a team.
Yeah. I mean, my operation experiences spans from running, some small divisions to running fairly large multi-million-dollar companies. And so a lot of that experience in working with those people and collaborating and sharing ideas and allowing people to share ideas, I think, is a very, very important element. And that was one of the things about bringing that sort of philosophy into real estate and with teams is I think that there's a lot of opportunity to share ideas and to scale and to have people who have different experiences. We have someone on our team has a little more marketing experience, and so she's able to help not only me sometimes, but other team members. And my experience in technology and different systems, I can help them with learning certain things where they don't have to spend hours and hours and hours doing it on their own, and they can spend more time growing their business. So that experience in working with a lot of different people and having that experience, I've been able to bring over to this team, and I think it's been very helpful.
If I'm a new agent, I'm going to ask, what's your first advice to me? And then what systems are you saying that I need to use to get started quickly?
Yeah. My first advice is to be yourself and go out there and do all of the things that you're doing, because this is one of the things I've always thought was very interesting about this industry. Go have lunch, right? It's great to have lunch, but that's also work too in some respects in this industry. Go play pickle. It's work. I mean, right? And so being likable and and making sure that people understand what you do, but being out there and being at dinner and going to networking events and going to different functions, I think is an extremely important thing. So when we bring on new agents and stuff, I want them to focus on that part of their business, to go out there and be out in the market, go have lunch, go to dinner, go play pickle, but also make sure people know what you do. And so some of it is through the conversation, and some of it is through social media and other marketing vehicles. And people say, hey, I got your mailer, or I saw your social media, I saw your video. And so that's one of the first things that I really want our people to do, is to build their, make sure their network understands what they're doing now. And by the way, it's also getting to their network's network, and making sure they do. And so that's first. So from a technology perspective, one thing that is phenomenal about Ad Properties is Ad Properties has amazing systems and amazing training courses and classes, both live and virtual, and great marketing tools. And so focusing on learning the business, so growing their business, but also learning. So there's a whole bunch of classes that Lynn and I have taken that we are able to recommend to them as what is the best. And some of them are virtual, some of them are live. And so they use a lot of the technology in there to do that, and they have a very good CRM to help build that business and get out mailers and get out So it's really a focus on the building of the business first, and then when you have a deal and you focus on things like the deal management system and DocuSign, which are all sort of behind the scenes. I want them to learn that stuff, but I'm there to help them. I can do a lot of that for them. I can take a lot of that pressure off of them. I don't think that's the most important thing for them to learn as they're entering this business.
Someone asked me in my last class, said, I'm overwhelmed. This was new, this was orientation. These were brand new people. I'm overwhelmed. So I need someone to tell me what I should do and what to learn. And I'm standing in front of the room and I'm thinking, okay, that's a big chunk to ask me to tell you what to do in 15 seconds that I have time to do this. Right. And I finally said, all right, I'm going to give you a piece of advice. This was so low tech. I said, take 5 business cards every single day, put them on your phone, and don't go home until the next day until you've given those business cards out.
Right.
Because your first job when you start is to build contacts. It's to network. It's to let people know you're in business.
Exactly.
I said, and here's another low-tech one. Go buy yourself a fleece that says, and I'll use your company Ad Properties on it. Mm-hmm. So when you're out and about, right, people recognize that you've changed from one job to a different job.
Sure, great idea.
Those were, and I said, you understand that what I'm getting at is your core responsibility this first year is to do anything that will get you in front of people to say, who do you know that needs to buy or sell real estate? Everything else is nice. Mm-hmm. That's the core thing that you must do. And I could just see her sort of go, oh, okay, I can do that. But she was getting overwhelmed with the DocuSign and all these other things that you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And it's a great point. That's one of the things my background really helped me in, because all of the companies that I've been a part of, most of them, had a very decent sized sales force, but very much of a sales focus. Inside teams, outside teams, but we were very big on having account managers and people to help those salespeople, so they could focus on building the business, on closing deals, and yes, that's the most important thing. That's why ultimately, you go into business for different reasons, but at the end of the day, this is your business.
This is what you have to do to stay in business. This is what you have to do.
Yes. And so taking some of those other pressures off them so they can do all of that I think is extremely important. Something that a team can help with a lot.
Okay. Well, you sort of alluded already to the market has changed from when you decided to do this to when you're doing it now.
Right.
What are the biggest changes you're seeing in the market right now?
I think there's a number of things. There's a lot of obviously conversations about commissions and things, and I think that is going to be have impacts from changes, but I don't think that's causing as much of any of the issues right now. I think some of the biggest things right now is the lack of inventory. Mm-hmm. I think that's the number one thing. There are plenty of buyers, and every agent has buyers, and we've got plenty of buyers, and there's just not enough product to sell them, and so you walk into an open house or a showing and you're rubbing elbows with 20, 25 people at any given time. I've never seen so many people in an open house or a showing. And mm-hmm. Every house has incredible number of offers, and many of which are over ask. And So the lack of inventory is really making it very difficult for buyers to find the house that they want, and that's been the biggest thing, for sure.
Interest rates? Think interest rates have an influence?
Yeah, very much so, yeah. I mean, we're never going to get down to those interest rates that a lot of people are at, but a lot of people,
yeah.
And so, if they can go lower, I mean, sure, that's going to be good. But yes, there are a lot of people in their houses today that are at 2-3%, and they know if they leave that they're not going to be. And so so it's keeping people in their houses longer, which is impacting the inventory. At some point, life goes on and they may change, but it's just going to be a slower progression than in a normal time frame.
So talking about a new agent then, telling them to do all the things that you're telling them, how are you telling them to overcome this buyer who says, I want to buy a house, and they know as a new agent, they're going to have trouble with that? Are you changing the way that you have your agents approach people with that? Are you giving them a different skill set for that? One of the things I was thinking about when you said, we have 20 offers, we all are kind of saying that casually, there are 20 offers on a house. There is nothing casual about getting 20 offers on a house. No. There's nothing casual about getting 5 or 3 offers on a house. A skill that I think we've not investigated much is how do I teach my agents to deal with their client like that? To say, okay, we have 10 offers, let's have a conversation now. How do you even begin to, we've been so concentrated on getting the buyers to buy offers. Right. How do we get the sellers to actually evaluate some of that? And I would think with your operations background, that might be something that would be interesting to you. How do we get them to evaluate when they have 10 offers in front of them?
How do we get the sellers to evaluate?
Yeah.
I mean, so we are, well, first of all, just in the initial question, I mean, I think when you're with the new agents that are coming on and how they work with buyers, I think you have to be confidently realistic about the situation.
Great phrase,
right?
I like that.
I mean, you can't just, the situation is what the situation is, right? I mean, there's low inventory, there's going to be a lot of offers. I do a number of videos and blogs each week, and my focus is on data, on the market, what is happening. So I've talked a lot about lack of inventory and supply of inventory and all of those difficult things. So people, they know what's going on. They see that our people share it. They know what's going on. But it is an exciting time for them. So you want to be confident. You want them to still be excited about this venture into their life. And so they need to understand that it is going to be very competitive. But we're going to find you a house. It might not be in as short a time frame as it might have been a year ago, but we're going to find you a house, and we're going to do everything you can. And then it gets down now to what you can do in some of those offers. And everyone's got different things, right? I mean, you can train them to, and talk to your clients about, putting in as-is offers and trying to put in, if they can do a cash offer, that is obviously helpful. Certain things on the appraisal contingencies and different things like that. I mean, and every agent knows, most of the agents know all of those types of things. And I've even heard some people waiving inspection. I mean, that's not something that's not something we would recommend to anybody. But people, in the last deal that we just had, several people did. We heard from, about that. So, doing different things within the offer but we don't want anybody to be in a situation where they're uncomfortable. So, we work with the agents, and we tell the agents, and my wife specifically, we want you to try to do things and structure the offer to give you the best situation, but in no way should it be ever, where you're uncomfortable, like, taking something as is if you don't feel comfortable like that, or raising your offer if financially it's not going to put you in a good situation. So it's got to work for them as well.
Okay. One of the things you said is you like data, and a lot of agents don't use data very well. I mean, their limit of data is what's sold yesterday and what's and what we think is going to sell today. How are you mixing data and social media together? Because I thought that was interesting what you were talking about.
So one of the things I did in my research is I got with about 10 or so people that I trust, just not in the real estate business, just friends that I've worked with in business and for, and just told them what I was going to do and wanted to get their thoughts. And I know seven, 8 of them had a consistent answer and said, I get this information from these brokers, and whether it's Lake Forest or Highland Park, and all they do is tell me how many deals they closed and how great they are and blah, blah, blah. But no one's telling me, like, what's going on in this market? Like, what should I expect? What are the housing values? What is, all of that stuff? And so I took that to heart and said, let's try to find a way where where you could communicate what's going on in the market and in different situations. So I look at a lot of reports. I get a lot of stuff from RPR. I spend a lot of time getting the market reports out of there and InfoSparks in some different places, and I look at that data and I do 1 minute video, one to 1.5 minute videos each week. On Tuesdays they usually come out. And that data is about what's going on in the market, what's going on in Highland Park, Glencoe, Northbrook, Deerfield, Lake Forest. What are the housing values? What was the change from last year? What was the change from last month? And just trying to make it bite-sized so people understand what's going on in the area that they live or the area that they may want to live. And so, there's that and just other things, what's the best solution for buyers in a competitive market? Is it a good time to sell? Well, values are up. So even though you might be in a low interest, it might be a really good time to sell because you're going to get the equity out of your house now than you may at more than any other time. And so, those kind of, taking the data and being able to just communicate it in a way that people understand it.
And social media is working effectively for you with doing this?
No, very much so, yes. Yeah.
Does your wife do social media too?
She does. Yeah, she does. We do different things. I mean, she doesn't talk as much about the data. She talks more. She has more stuff related to the business and then personal. Same thing with the other agents. But the other people share the data stuff and the videos and the blogs, and we use them very effectively in that way. Okay. Mix it up a little bit.
I'm going to change a little bit. You're on my education committee, the NASBAR's education committee. If you could be king of the universe, what would you do for education for agents? Now that you've met them and you've been hanging with them for a while, what would you suggest that they get educated about? You kind of talked about it, but now talk about education. What education should be being provided for them?
Again, we've talked about it, and I feel I don't want to be a broken record, but I do think it comes down to prospecting and I think prospecting and selling and being out there. So the training would be how do you prospect? How do you go to your network? How do you get into your network's network? And so starting really with that, because I do think it comes down to building your business. So live classes I think are good. Virtual classes are clearly good. I think a combination of the two work very well. Again, App Properties does a phenomenal job. They do a phenomenal job of a combination of live classes, but obviously all those live become virtual at some point. They put a lot of stuff out there. But as you said, it is a lot of material. So really figuring out which ones might be the best, because you could just inundate yourself. So I would start with that. I would definitely start with how to prospect, how to make sure the people, your network, your sphere knows what you do, and how's the best way to get to them through your CRM, through different marketing tools, through social media, and build from that from there. That would be my first thing for sure.
Okay. Are you optimistic about the market?
Yeah. I mean, I think yes. I mean, it's every business goes through cycles, right? I mean, there's never been an industry that hasn't gone through ups and downs, and so I think yes. I mean, I'd like to see some changes in the market maybe sooner than they might happen, but I think we're going to be we should be optimistic. I think inventories will open up, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there each month as we continue through this year. And as we just said, I think people are going to have to go on with their lives, and so I do think as rates come down a little, which I do think they will, whether it's this year, a little this year, maybe a little more next year, I do think it's going to start to open up. And so yeah, I am optimistic about the market.
Are you having a good time?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah?
I am. I mean, I entered this industry with some things, you know, I didn't expect some of these things, that certain things would be as challenging as they are. But I think, you know, for the most part, yeah, I would like to see things open up a little more. But I am having a good time. And I think, you know, my wife and I are a good mix in terms of running a group.
Yeah.
We do things, you know, we're different, and she focuses on one area, I focus on another, and we really like the people that we've brought on, and I think they're going to be very good agents. One of them had some experience, and two of them are very new, and we'd like to build it up a little bit more. But so yeah, I think it's a good industry to be in, and it's a good business inside of the app properties business to be a part of. Yeah.
Bob, I'm going to tell you thank you so much for coming and spending Friday morning with us. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate it.
Nice.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That was a good one.
Yeah.
All right, good. Well,